AI Toolbox Bootcamp. My name is Shatar Safira Collier. Thank you so much for joining us for this wonderfully exciting, informative session. At this point, I will introduce the founder of the AI Toolbox Bootcamp, Mr. Maxie D. Collier. Welcome, Maxie.
Good afternoon, my dear. Good afternoon to everyone who is joining us. I'm so excited to be here. A couple of years ago, Shatar and I did a series of 12 weekly sessions teaching people about using live streaming tools. This was in the midst of the pandemic when so many people for the first time were learning how to use Zoom and learning how to use cameras and webcams and things like that. So I'm so excited that we could be here for today's session, where we are once again discussing and introducing brand new technologies, and not just the theory of these technologies. In the next few minutes of our 90 minutes or 2 hours together, we'll be sharing with you all actual practical lessons that we learned in the production of creating books, videos, documentaries, merchandise, and a variety of things using AI assisted technology. Now, what do I mean by AI assisted technology? Well, let me explain exactly how this is going to be presented. We're going to have three parts of this presentation today. The first part is streaming live across all of our social media, as well as on our website, aitoolbox.co, as well as our e-learning portal, techandmedia.io. However, the second part of our session will be streamed exclusively on our online learning center and be available to the members of our learning community. So if that includes you, you can visit techandmedia.io and log in with your email, or if you have Gmail, you can log in with Gmail and you can follow the program there as well. So again, we're gonna have three parts to today's presentation. Our public presentation, we will talk about an introduction to AI, which is artificial intelligence. We'll talk about some of the key tools, and we'll show a little bit of case studies of projects that we've created. Then in part two, we'll take things to the e-learning center privately, where we will get deeper into actually using some of these tools. This program is called the AI Toolbox because the works that we are doing are an assemblage of a variety of tools. We call them digital Legos. It's the idea that we can click together little pieces of tools to accomplish what we need to accomplish. In the initial part one, we'll be introducing some of these tools. But in part two and part three, we'll be diving into helping our members of our community learn how to actually use these tools. We'll be setting up accounts. We'll be getting you started with building what you need for your AI toolbox. But before we begin, we would like to go ahead and demonstrate a project that we created most recently. It's called The Life of Lewis Latimer. This is an AI-assisted documentary. And by that, we mean that Shatar and I used more than a dozen artificial intelligence tools to help create the artwork, to create the music, the voices, the editing, and in a variety of scenarios. We're going to play the 9-minute documentary, and we want you all to take notes and be ready to bring those questions to us as we get further into the conversation. So, dear, before we roll, is there anything you want to say?
I just want to say welcome everyone for joining us. You know, it's a very unique time in business and in history with all of the AI tools that are at our fingertips right now. It should be able to help make your job a little bit easier, make your team's job a little bit easier, and really create some wonderful opportunities for a very, very swift publication rate and product creation rate. So whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate with AI or you're advanced with AI, we have information in this segment to help get you even more information so that you can have the advantage and help ultimately help your business and help your team, help your institution. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and roll the documentary, and please feel free to ask questions. Yes, Max, you were saying.
Well, I was just going to say, we are going to address some of the anxiety as well. We're not going to engage in debates. We're not going to get too far speculation, but we are going to address some of the concerns that many people have, but we'll discuss some of that. In the meantime, this is The Life of Lewis Latimer, an AI-assisted documentary by Maxie and Shatar Collier. So it seems like we're having some problems with the streaming, Shatar.
That's correct. You'll be able to view the full stream at lewislatimer.com, which I will put on the screen. Many of you in the class have already had an opportunity to view the documentary. Now, for the folks who are joining us for this live session, we wanted to make it available to you so that you can ask questions. You're able to view the full segment at lewislatimer.com, and I'll make sure that that's on the screen for you as well.
Yes. So again, when using these technologies, there's no fail safes. We are using a platform called StreamYard, and it allows us to integrate onto our own website. So, but before we get further, I want to make it clear that the way this program is structured today and moving forward is an incremental sessions. One, if you are not able to make the live streams, we don't want that to be a stress for anyone who's a member of this cohort. So every one of these live streams will be available. The replay will be available for you to view in the Learning Management Center. But also, even in our weekly sessions, we're going to be going from beginner information to intermediate to advanced in our 3 sessions. So if you are already experiencing some of these AI technologies, you may explore our e-learning center and then come back and join the video for a later part. Or conversely, if you're a beginner and you don't want to feel intimidated, you may just watch the first couple of parts of this, knowing that each one of our 3rd parts is going to be dealing with more advanced concepts. All right. So, dear, you want to go ahead and give an introduction to yourself, and then I'll give my introduction? Well, okay,
My
we
name
have it
is
here. I'm supposed to do it.
It's all right. So, Maxi has been in the technology space since the 1980s. I call him the AI whisperer because even though some people are familiar with things like ChatGPT and Midjourney, they've been in the social media realm right now. He knows how to apply different words to the code so that they create different results. And we'll talk about that as far as all of the details of how to communicate with the AI to receive the results that you are looking for. So I'll go ahead and share. Maxi's been involved since the 1980s. And would you like to
Actually,
share with
dear,
me
I'll keep
Eliza?
it. I'll keep it short. I'll go ahead and keep it short. I'll just give a little quick background, and then we'll have this available in the learning management system. But just to give a context, I learned computing in the 80s on some of the earliest personal computers. And at that particular time, interestingly, one of the first software packages and applications that I was learning was a language called Beginner All-Purpose Symbolic Language, BASIC. And the program that I learned to program on was something called ELIZA. And ELIZA was a very early artificial simulation software package that you basically pretended like you were chatting with a therapist. It was a computer therapist package, and for those of us learning program, though, most importantly, it taught a concept of something that we call natural language processing. And that's the ability of the computers to take our information and to break it down and then to make decisions based on that. Now, these earliest software packages, they were simulating artificial intelligence, whereas what we are using today is actual artificial intelligence. But we'll get more into that distinction a little bit later. Another part of my background that is relevant is that my mom was an economist, and so all my life I was exposed to data and information and statistics. I realize now that my mom was a data scientist, and then my father being a psychiatrist, we were exposed to therapists and doctors and medical stuff all the time. So technology was a very important part of my life from my earliest years. I first got into computers, and then there was something happening called desktop publishing. This is when people began to migrate the process of creating print publications to the computer. And we use early things like laser printers, early software like PageMaker in order to create publications. Now, I want to say how this is relevant because the way that we talked to the computers back in the day, where we were just a little command prompt, there was no drag and drop. It was what we call a command prompt. It was literally just a colon and you type commands. Well, this is very similar to the way that we're using this artificial intelligence today. GPT, which is taking over right now, is a brand new artificial intelligence that allows any of us to use conversational natural language to communicate with the computer. See, previously, we had to be programmers and experts. We had to go learn coding languages and things in order to get instructions into the computer. Today, with these artificial intelligence tools, we literally can use words in the structure of what we call prompts. And with these prompts, we can communicate with software and we can generate images, sound, audio, video, and a variety of materials. In this boot camp, we're going to be teaching you how to use dozens and dozens of these AI tools. But not just that, we're going to be teaching you how to integrate them together in your own platforms. Because it's not just a matter of us creating books and blogs and videos on websites, but we also now have the capabilities of distributing those to the world and interacting with people directly on our own platforms. So we don't have to just make content for YouTube or for Facebook. No, we can make content using these AI tools and have it live on our own platforms to be distributed around the world. You know, as we talk about Shatar, we talk about the world of entertainment and decades of experience. But dear, let's hear you talk about your background.
Yes, definitely. I have been involved in the tech and media space most of my life. And for those who are not yet seeing the documentary, I did want to make sure that you have the link, okay? It's lewislatimer.com. Now, during this segment, if you have a way to do screenshots, if you want to take photos with your phone, we will be going through the information swiftly during the live sessions because we're communicating with our enrolled students throughout the week. So if you are just joining us for this introductory live session, please do take screenshots so that you have the links and information for yourself, and then you can always refer to them and ask us questions later. So again, my name is Shatar Safira Collier. In college, I taught at the Computer Learning Center, teaching faculty and staff at the University of Pennsylvania how to use new, Apple programs and Microsoft software. Again, I've also been in the entertainment space. Many of you are familiar with me from some shows on VH1 and other programming. But for me, it was important to take control of my own brand. Now, Maxi, being the genius that he is, introduced me to digitization, things like Google Drive, Audacity, Adobe, and animation. So I'm digital native when it comes to production. And this has helped us to produce many things from this documentary, The Life of Lewis Latimer, to the show Poultry Princess, which is now on Amazon Prime, and even the cookbook, which I mentioned, affects publishing. We now use AI to assist with publishing and even things like recipes, and we'll talk about that in the entire course. But the main thing for you to know is that AI can be your friend in the whole production process. They've helped us to create merchandise for the Big Fairy Tales line, even graphic novels, marketing videos. ChatGPT is wonderful, and even social media content. So again, be sure to take screenshots, visit us at aitoolbox.co to get more information. And I'm also going to go ahead and bring some of the folks we have backstage on screen just so that you know that they are here participating. If
Thank
you
you.
have if you have a question or a comment, please go ahead and put them in the comments area and someone will reply.
And so we're just going to give a couple more of these examples of some of the things that we've created. And then we're going to go right into sharing some of these tools so you guys can actually begin to follow along. So dear, if you could bring up the second screen, we're going to with the hip hop AI. Are you seeing the presentation? Cool. All right. So you guys, so Shatar and I at this point are nearly a year into using this current iteration of AI tools. And by that, around this time last year, many of us started seeing unique types of computer generated art start to appear on our timelines. Now, the fact is, computer generated art has been around since some of the earliest days of computers. We were using regular letters and characters to make art way back into the day. But what's so different as we talk about this computer AI generated art, is the fact that we can type in words, these prompts, and begin to generate images. So last year, there was a breakthrough in something called Midjourney, a software application called Midjourney. Midjourney is one of the ones that brought artificial intelligence generated art to the mainstream. Now, the moment that Shatar and I saw this, it was like a breakthrough. Having created so many projects, so many media projects where we relied on artists, clip art, licensing services, and things like that, for us, it was a breakthrough to be able to generate a project that had a variety of art And all of these pictures that you're seeing here were generated by me typing words. So using Midjourney, and now as we look at these images, I want to communicate something as well, is about how fast these software and these applications are developing. So when we first began using Midjourney, it was generating very much watercolor, abstract images and things like that. However, today we are able to create photorealistic images that sometimes even photographers can't begin to tell the difference. But when I published Hip Hop AI last August, I meant it to be a snapshot of how art was evolving at that particular time in the AI art community. I knew it was going to be, it's like us looking at the video games as we went from 8-bit video games to 16-bit to millions of colors. Well, that's what's happening now as we talk about AI art and the evolution of AI art. Now, how does this work? What do you mean? You type words and pictures come out? Yes, that is exactly what happens. And the service that we're using for this is called Midjourney. If you are watching and if you're one of our students in our program, you can go to midjourney.com right now. Now, here's the thing. Midjourney is dependent upon another software package called Discord. And Discord is a communication package. So you guys remember when we first started using the web back in the day, and we had to learn a whole variety of tools. We had to learn how to use browsers and Internet Explorer and all these sort of things. Well, Midjourney is a software package that for communications that connects with the Midjourney. So it's an interface. Now, in our next section, we're going to walk our folks directly through setting up these accounts. Right now, we're just giving you an overview. So the art that you start seeing, first, it was Midjourney was one of the applications, but then there was another impactful one that came about, and it was called Stable Diffusion. Now, WordPress is an open source publishing platform that transformed publishing. Open source means that it was made by the community and not any individual particular person. Stable Diffusion is another one of these that is also created by a community. Well, it's created by a business. Stable Diffusion took the idea of AI art and made a software package that they made open to the world. They released it just like WordPress. Then other developers and other companies started taking this AI engine, this Stable Diffusion created, and building things on top of it. So while Midjourney is a web-based service, Stable Diffusion is a software application that you can download and install on your local computer. Now I want to show you guys some of these types of images that we're creating here with Midjourney.
I was just about to ask you that to see if to explain how the prompts, how you can put words in and get pictures out for people who are new to the concept.
Okay, cool. So this is my profile on Midjourney. When we sign up for our account on Midjourney, first we sign up for our Discord account, and then we come to midjourney.com. We log in with midjourney.com. Now, initially, you're only going to get a few free trial images, but then you pay your $30 a month subscription, and then you're able to really begin creating. So we've had so many compliments about the art that we created for the Lewis Latimer documentary. Well, you guys, this is the art. As you see, thousands of pictures were created for this documentary. Now, how do we create these pictures? Well, you see these little words right here. These are the prompts. So for me to create this image of a photorealistic aerial view of Maxie Collier's lab. Now, here's something that's very important. As we're working with these AI tools, they begin to learn us and become incrementally smarter with what we're doing. So in this picture, I had previously established with the AI what my lab was. That my lab was going to be in Las Vegas, and that it was going to have certain criteria. It was going to have palm trees around it, et cetera, et cetera. So the Midjourney, as you can see, these are some of the images that it created. Now, just like for old school folks, the term Xerox became synonymous with meaning making a copy. Mid-Journey has kind of becoming synonymous with AI art. It was one of the tools on the web that first broke through for a lot of people. There was another mobile app called Lenza that began to become so popular. However, for our AI toolbox, Mid-Journey is one of our essential tools. Stable Diffusion is another one of our essential tools. And I want to talk about a non-art. Well, actually, let me show you over here as we come. I will show you exactly, because again, there's still people for whom it's kind of abstract. The idea, of us using words to make images. So I'll demonstrate how we do that. So again, I'm in Mid-Journey. I click Open Discord, and I'm taken to my Discord account. And this is the space in which I begin to build the images. Now, for those of us who are writers and those of us who are programmers, we're kind of used to the idea of taking things in our head and stringing words together in order to begin to generate results. Again, in the world of artificial intelligence, this is known as prompts. So those of us who are used to creating prompts, we know that by combining words in a certain way, we can get the results that we want. And when we don't get the results we want, we recombine another word, and another word is more specific. In fact, for my friends who are hip hop heads, who are MCs, or my friends who are poets, it is so simple. It's so similar. The idea that every single word that we use and can help vary the image. Now, I'm having a problem sharing the screen right here, but we'll go ahead and continue. And again, I'll just scroll through and let you guys see some of these other. Now, as we talk about this idea of prompts, I also want to introduce you guys to a career opportunity that did not exist a year ago.
I'd love, if you
Go ahead,
don't
dear.
mind, because I do call Maxi the AI whisperer. He is highly gifted at communicating with the AI specifically. For example, and you see all of these images on the screen, right? So the difference between the one picture on the left and one picture in the middle, that difference is created by the text that he put in. So for example, the sentence may be Maxi's technology lab in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, if I add a word, anime, Maxi's lab in Las Vegas, Nevada, anime,
Exactly.
it will create an anime result. But if I switch the word anime for photorealistic, it will create a photorealistic result. There are thousands of those words and differences that you can enter into the prompt to create different results.
Yes. And so that has resulted in this brand new career opportunity called an AI prompt engineer. An AI prompt engineer. That is the person who sits down and listens to a client or listens to a customer and identifies the goals and the objectives of that person, and then figures out the corresponding words or the corresponding prompts to generate the desired results. Now, again, we're talking about images right now. However, the concept is the same as we get into our other forms of AI. So all of this process of taking words and turning them to images, it's called generative AI. Generative AI. That means we are generating original content from these prompts. That is different than conversational AI. Conversational AI is really the AI that most of us first were used to. Those of us who are old school can remember when we used to have something called 411, and that was information that we didn't have the web and we didn't have things. We would call 411, and 411 would help us find phone numbers around the world. Some of the first information, some of the first AI that most of us experienced was when those calls became automated. At one point, it was real people. You would call 411 and you would talk to an operator and they would look up your number and give it to you. Well, later on, that became an automated process. That became state your name of your city, state the company, and that automation of prompts gave the operators something information to get back to you. So now, as we talk about how artificial intelligence has advanced, it advanced from that to Siri, to Alexa. And actually, there was a very important stage of AI in between there. And that was the point in time when Google came about. So, yes, we had conversational AI in our life with a form of 411 and us giving simple prompts into the phone. But when Google's search engine came about, they began to implement artificial intelligence in the idea of how do we group similar things together? Websites, pages, books, video, audio. How do we go all over the web and begin to identify things that are similar, group them together, and leave out things that are not similar? That is the world of search engines. And Google was one of the first people to use those search engines and to bring it about. So we went from search engines to Siri to Alexa, as all a part of artificial intelligence in our life. Now, here we are at the point of using generative AI in order to create text and media for our programs. So, dear, are there any questions did you see so far?
We have comments here. I don't see any questions. Should anyone have a question, please feel free to enter it in the private chat. Jen is monitoring the chat on the public stream. Now, for the folks who are joining us who are not yet enrolled in the class, you can enroll at AI Toolbox.co. That is aitoolbox.co, and you can sign up because we stream the segment in three parts, as he said. The first part will be available to the public and is beginner information. The second part is intermediate information, and then the third part contains the advanced information, links, and tools.
So again, just to review, again, just to review, so the first thing we talked about was one of our projects that we created using artificial intelligence generated art, and that was called Hip Hop AI. You could visit that project at hiphopai.co, or if you're in the e-learning center, if you're in our training center, you can go to the lesson, the Hip Hop AI case study, and see the full 200-page book. You could ask us questions there about any of the images. Now, again, as we talk about this whole process, this book was created. We uploaded it to Amazon Kindle, and the print version of the book became available immediately. Now, what's beautiful as a creator for me is the fact that I was able to make a fully illustrated book without having to rely on any external sources. I didn't have to hire any artists. I didn't have to wait days and weeks for one piece of art to come back. No, I was able to go straight from my head to a piece generated. So now here we are, we're writing a book and we have the words that are flowing for those of us who are writers, but the visuals are flowing in our mind as well. With this process, we're able to concurrently generate our words and our visuals. So this left brain, right brain thing allows us to produce in a whole different flow, And again, this is as we talk about the visuals. Now, dear, can you go ahead and pull up openai.com on the lower third? And we're going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to take a break shortly. But we're going to talk now about generative and conversational AI in the form of ChatGPT, this revolutionary new tool that is available. And if you want to follow along, or if you want to begin experimenting with ChatGPT, you can go to openai.com. The company is openai.com. The product is ChatGPT.
Yes.
And so when we come back from the break, and there, we'll go ahead and keep streaming publicly for a little bit longer, and then we'll do it for the third one. We'll go to. But okay, so when we come back from the break, we're going to delve into ChatGPT more substantially. But what we want you to do is we want you to go to openai.com and set up your account on OpenAI. And when you do, ChatGPT is just one of the tools that you're going to get access to. OpenAI is a multi-billion-dollar company that originally started as a AI research company. And now ChatGPT is their first consumer product. It is the fastest growing consumer app in the history of computing. the fastest growing computing app in the history of computing. Over 100 million people signed up in the first 6 weeks of the release of this service. When we come back from our break, we're going to show you how ChatGPT can be used in multiple aspects of your business and your career. We're going to introduce it, and we're going to show you how to set up your account. And we're going to start talking about the prompts. And then when we go to our private session with our students, we're going to make sure that all of you all can get started on Midjourney and ChatGPT. And we're also going to talk about a couple more things, because the fact is, when we're using these tools, we generate, as you saw, so much data and so much information and resources. Then when we come back, we're also going to talk about how we organize this information. So if you currently have a Gmail account, we'd like you to go ahead and go to Google Drive. And if you don't have a Gmail account, go to gmail.com and set up your Gmail account, because we're going to show you how, using Google Drive and other Google tools, we can begin to organize all of this flow of information that's coming in. Do you have any questions or comments before we go to our break?
Yes, so for those of you who are viewing, you saw Aaron's question on the screen. Because he is enrolled, he's able to receive the information and links through the private chat. So his question was about which book we were referring to, and it is Maxie's book, Hip Hop AI. His question was answered in the back by the team, and so that is the book published by Maxie Collier called Hip Hop AI, which is full of generative AI images, and the actual prompt that he used to create the first image of that book, you can find between pages 7 to 10 of that book. So if you're watching and you're not yet in the class, you can find Maxie's book, Hip Hop AI. It's available on Amazon. And if you are in the class, please go ahead and look at pages 7 to 10 to find more information about the prompts.
And if you'd like to join the class, you can go to aitoolbox.co. Sign up now. This is our founders launch. We have more than 60 people in our cohort right now, representing media, arts, entertainment, education, a variety of personalities and businesses and organizations. Over these next 6 weeks, our goal is to help those who are most committed to completing some sort of major project for themselves. This may be a book, graphic novel project. It may be a video. It may be a website. It may be a mobile app. Because check this out, you guys, this artificial intelligence, it can help us do coding, but we'll get into that more later. So if you're a student in the program, you are going to be doing a project over these next few weeks, and we're going to be applying AI all along the way. If you're amongst the most motivated and you want to get a certificate from our training program, then you're going to do a major project, which will take 4 to 6 weeks, and a minor project as well. That may be done in 1 or 2 days or a weekend. But all these details will be available in the learning management system. All right, so dear, this is our first break. We'll come back at 3:30, and we will resume for this next piece, on the first piece, streaming live at aitoolbox.co for those folks previewing, as well as in our learning management center at techandmedia.io. But dear, you could bring that back up, because during this break, if you have not already, we would like you to go to openai.com and to set up your account there. Now, if you run into any problems, sometimes it gets super busy and it's hard to set up an account and things like that. Just keep trying. They'll ask for a telephone verification. So you have to do that as well. You have to enter your phone number. But once you have this OpenAI account up, we can show you a whole new world of how to use this Chat GPT to write short stories, how to write blog posts, how to write social media content, how to write proposals. This software will even help create schedules, checklists, and a variety of things for you. Now, again, this is an introduction for those folks who are on our mainstream chat. But all week, if you're in our learning management system, we're going to help you become proficient with ChatGPT and Midjourney. And then next weekend, we're going to immerse in the world of computer art and begin to deal with intermediary and advanced prompting techniques. And with these, you can begin to create 3D images, like what we're doing for our Latimer project. If you go to lewislatimer.com and you click on VR, you will see virtual reality 3D images that we created using Midjourney and some very special prompting techniques. So again, this is our break. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back at 3:40 p.m. I'm Maxie Collier. You are watching the AI Toolbox Bootcamp. We are just getting started. Stick with us, and you're going to learn some great stuff.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. We would like to thank you for joining us. This is the AI Toolbox Bootcamp. My name is Shatar. I am the founder of New Vista Studios. I am here with Maxie Collier, founder of AI Toolbox Bootcamp. We are so excited that you're able to join us for this live session. We want to welcome all of the members of our cohort, as well as everyone who's tuning in live.
Thank you, dear, for that great introduction again. And we're so excited because we have all these questions coming in and all these calls. So we want to ask that you be patient with us. We have data coming at us from about 10 different directions right now. So if you're in the course, we want to make sure that you are being attended to. So we have Jen and Aunt Jay on standby. You can go into the chat room if you see it there, and they can help answer any of your questions. You can also visit aitoolbox.co/contact, and you can contact us through the form there. So we're going to keep it moving. So before we went to the break, we asked folks to go open Chat GPT. So let me talk a little bit before we get into some of the controversial parts. Because again, the reality is right now, you guys, I use this example. I say, imagine if we were talking to some of our ancestors back at the time 3 or 4 years before the transition from horses to automobiles. Imagine if we were trying to tell some of those people in the city surrounded by horses and buggies, hey, you guys, 5 years from now, everything you see in front of you is going to be changed. 20 years from now, it's going to be radically transformed even more. Well, that's kind of what's happening with this AI. And for those of us who've been in technology for years, we've seen this before. We've seen the cycles of the introduction of new technology with the case of randomly the compact disc. When the compact disc came out, they said to us that the CD was going to kill the record industry. It did, but it didn't kill the music industry. It took the music industry to a whole nother level. Then when streaming came out, they said streaming is going to kill the music business. It killed the CD business, but it took the music industry to a whole nother level. That's where we are right now with the AI. We are in the earliest days of this AI. There's so much fear about it because there is going to be the loss of jobs, but there's going to be the creation of new jobs as well. When I first started self-publishing in the 80s, there was a job called a typesetter. And the typesetter back then was a person who literally went through and took little pieces of lead and put them on a piece of wood and lined those words up, and then lined those sentences up, then lined those paragraphs up, and then made that page ready to print. That's the way printing happened for hundreds of years. In one short period, digitization came along and desktop publishing was created. And in just a few years, that job was gone. So as we talk about AI, and even right now, my friends who are trained in fine arts and illustration and other things, there's so much debate. There's so much angst. Or have I spent my whole lifetime learning skills that are no longer relevant because an artificial intelligence item can create a picture from words? That's a very valid question. For educators, will I be as relevant 5 years from now? Because the AI can create individual educational learning programs, but not just create an individual educational learning program, it can create the educational materials in that program. So now you can have a classroom of 300 people and everyone has to learn differently. It took a long time for the world to acknowledge that there's different learning styles, audio, visual, text. Now in this world of education looking ahead, there is the potential for there to be customized learning materials down to the T of what that student needs.
Yes, and I appreciate it, especially that we have many educators who are participating with the cohort. I want to congratulate you on joining us. And for people who are looking at career opportunities and professional opportunities, we always talk about the professional opportunities that were coming. Even years ago when we talked about drones and UAVs, we talked about the professional opportunities. So for a new professional opportunity, such as the prompt librarian, can you please tell them the salary point for the prompt librarian, which is an actual opportunity that did not exist last year?
Yes, the AI prompt engineer And for those folks who are in the course, we'll share links to where you can go see some of these opportunities right now. The AI prompt engineer is a brand new job that does not require a college degree, and you can find salary starting at $175,000 a year. $175,000 a year for something that did not exist just a year ago, at least not on the job boards for the most part. And now it's in high demand and growing demand. And that's because the reality is, just like computer programmers were needed to solve problems, the prompt engineer is an intermediary for the many people who don't want to learn this technology. And let's address that too, Shatar. In terms of our training program, we are speaking to multiple groups of people. We're speaking to the hobbyist who's interested and curious about what's going on in the world and learning how to apply this technology. This may be a senior, an elderly person who's retired and at home for the first time and now wants to figure out some unique creative projects. This chat GPT, they can now be engaged in very stimulating ways. My mother is a professor, 76 years old, still teaching college. And she came to us and said, hey, you guys, I'm so worried about my students using this chat GPT. What should I do about it? I said, Mama, let's ask chat GPT. And so we went into the software and we asked, what are some ways to incorporate artificial intelligence technology into the learning process, as opposed to trying to isolate and keep the kids from using it or the young folks from using it? And it came back with dozens of ways that she could incorporate the technology into her learning process. From that very moment, she's been using ChatGPT steadily. So now, again, we asked people to go to OpenAI at the end of our previous session. Hey, dear, let me pull up OpenAI on this screen over here. Can you give us some fill time?
Absolutely. Maxi has a wonderful theory that he talks about, which is the yellow pencil theory. And it has quite a bit to do with perspective. Each of us is an individual and we have our own perspective. Now, with technology, there are many ways that this can help you, whether you're in education or whether you're a business executive, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a business owner, whether you work with a nonprofit organization. These tools are here to assist you. Everything from Chat GPT to the images you can create with Midjourney. So for example, some professional applications can be, perhaps you have a newsletter or a social media blast that your organization puts out once a week. Previously, you may have to work with a writer to compose the newsletter items, a graphic artist to create the art for that newsletter, and then have it distributed. Now you can work with AI to assist you with the professional in the space to, of course, prove everything before it goes out, but it can save quite a bit of time, not just on a weekly scale, but on a daily scale in running your business.
Thank you, dear. Yep. So I'm still pulling this up on other computer. My other presentation computer crashed, so I have to reboot it. So give me just a second. But I do want to talk about, this. I don't have a yellow pencil here, but I want to talk about an idea that came to me years ago, and it's why I don't debate technology anymore with people. In the 90s, when we were going from analog film into digital, I used to spend time on these discussion forums, going back and forth, evangelizing and getting heated. And I can pull up right now discussions from 1996, 97, talking about digital filmmaking with people who told me I will never shoot digital, and some of those same people right now are famous cinematographers and directors shooting digital, So now in technology, one of the reasons why I don't debate is because I realized about something about perspective. Okay, so when I hold this pen up, pretend it's a yellow pencil. When I hold this pen up to this camera right here, one person looking at this is going to look and see a dot, no matter what, because that's like that. When I hold this pen up right here, another person is going to see a line. Now, these two people can spend all day long debating if it's a dot or if it's a line. That's why I don't debate anymore. If we have respectful conversations, we can share with each other and say, hey, dude, this thing I'm looking at is a dot. What do you see? And now if you're going to argue with me and say, no, it's a line, then we're not going to get anywhere. So in this course, we're not debating, we're not arguing. In fact, for people who are in the course, we're going to have some great discussions, but we're going to link out to where you can go debate about the ethics of AI. You can go debate about the artists and the works that are being sampled. We're not going to do that. What we're going to spend our time is applying this technology right now. So going back to Chat GPT and OpenAI. Okay, so I still am getting my screen together here, but if you have already set up your OpenAI account, then you can go to, oh, here we go. It's all coming up. I'm going to bring, so you can go to chat.openai.com/chat. Chat.openai.com/chat. And I'm going to share this screen here in a minute. Let's see. I still have to log in on this other side to share the screen, dear. Okay. So on the Chat AI screen, and again, I'm sorry I can't have my screen right here yet, but you will see in the upper corner where it says New Chat. And let me get this situated. Dear, you can go to another talking point. Let me go ahead and pull up this other one.
Copy that. So on the same slide, you see the yellow pencil theory. We're also sharing the links. So these are actual links of places where you will sign up to get the tools. So you have openai.com. That's where you'll access ChatGPT, and we'll be sharing others. You already have Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. We'll be sharing others as part 2 of the segment, and then even more advanced ones for part 3 of the segment. So also on the slide, you'll see defining the toolbox. Now, the toolbox is not just a random set of digital tools. The toolbox consists of specific hardware, specific software and apps, and then specific integrations to make your life easier. For example, those of you who have Gmail, you may not yet have accessed the full Google Suite. Well, there's a way to incorporate many things into your Google Suite, even something as simple as your Google Doc. And we'll talk about that coming up. But the toolbox will include specific hardware that you may have right now. For example, your mobile phone. This is a great starting point. You may operate on a tablet. It may be your PC. We'll also discuss a case study, meaning where you can access your materials. You may get them from Best Buy, Office Depot. You may go to a college surplus store. You can access monitors, dongles, and so on. You may have an internet connection. You may use a microphone and a camera. All of these things are key pieces of your toolbox to help.
And let's talk a little bit about this hardware again, because while there are people who their only connection to the internet is their mobile phone. In fact, we go to Africa and many places, that is the internet infrastructure that they're building is mobile based. However, to use many of these tools, you do not have to have a state of the art computer. Because this is web based technology, you don't necessarily have to have the fastest computer. So we encourage a lot of folks who are investing in their hardware infrastructure. There's smart ways you can get quality hardware. For example, you can go to a community college, a local college. Like we've gotten Mac PCs, monitors from UNLV Surplus Center. By going to the UNLV Surplus Center, we've gotten hardware at half the price of some of these other places. So we don't want to let the hardware be a limitation. You want a mobile phone, a tablet, a PC, but you also want to have a good microphone and a good camera because many of these tools are multimedia, So, all right, cool, dear. I'm almost done with this one over here. Let me go to the next slide for you there. Okay, yeah, web browsers. You could talk about that in the role of Google Chrome, dear, while I get this set up.
Some people have their favorite web browsers. A lot of people use Google Chrome, and we find that this is very helpful, especially in accessing all of the professional items in your Google Suite. But for your web browser, you may work with Google Chrome. You may also have Safari. Safari is also found on your phone if you're using the iOS. Firefox is another option, but it doesn't have all of the same features that are available with a Google Chrome. And then an alternative is the Microsoft Edge. So let's say you're testing something and you want to see its functionality. You may open it in Google Chrome, but then you may also open the same page on Microsoft Edge. There will be some things that you can do and on one of them that you may not be able to do on another. So we highly encourage working with Google Suite as you're learning the tools. And in the Google Suite, you'll be able to open things like Google Doc, your Google Drive, and all of these things to help centralize your information. Now, some digital tools for storing, managing, and organizing data consist again of the Google Suite, the G Suite, which I just mentioned. Google Drive is another big one where you can keep items in your folders and keep them organized. And then you can also add some of these apps on your phone. For those professionals that I've worked with, over 6 months, the part of last year, I trained a lot of businesses on using Canva to create content for their businesses. But did you know that you can also add the Canva app on your phone so that you can create visuals and other things while you are on the go? That's very, very key.
And we'll talk more about the role of Canva. Okay, so here's the idea, you guys. We're generating volumes of information as we use these tools, whether it's lots of text or there's a whole lot of photos and things. And so we have to have some way of organizing this material together. In the past year, we've learned that Google Drive, which is part of the Google Suites, and Google Docs and Google Sheets, these are all applications that come as part of your Google. So if you have Gmail and you go up into the upper corner, you'll see a little set of boxes, a little checks. You can click that check. And again, for those in the learning management in our program, we'll walk you guys through this shortly if necessary. But from there in Google, you can go up and you can click something called Google Drive. This is an online storage system for data. You can drop photos there. You can drop videos there. So that's where we're going to accumulate. We're going to create folders in there to store our photos. Then we're going to go to another part of Google called Google Docs, and we're going to open up a blank document. Now, in the old school days, we use Word, we use Open Office and other things that resided locally on our computers. However, now our primary goal is to aggregate and to centralize these things. The way that we've made these books, the way that we've made these documentaries is by generating so much stuff, then filtering and sifting through to find the best. So for any of you who are about to experiment with the Google, the Chat GPT, with the Midjourney, we want you to go ahead and set up a folder on your Google Drive and just call that folder AI Experiments, because this is your lab. You're going to have a digital place that's your lab for storing and for processing. Then we're going to walk the people in our training program on how to set up another digital space. This is your digital space for publishing, whether it's Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, AWS Cloud, whatever. We're going to help you set up a platform to publish in the things that you create. For some people, that may be a Shopify store so you can sell stuff. For other people, it may be a Teachable or Thinkific site like we're using in order for your learning management. But it's this basic idea: a workspace over here, private workspace, a presentation space over there. Between those two are all of these AI tools. So, dear, if you see my screen, do you see the Chat GPT over here, the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and share that real quick. Okay, so now if you've been following along at OpenAI, then you'll see a screen like ours with a little slight difference. You see here where it says Chat GPT Plus. That's the professional version of Chat GPT. So by us paying our monthly fee, $30 a month, $20 a month, we now are guaranteed access. This application became so popular that at certain points you can't get access. So by paying for the professional version of Chat GPT, not only do you get consistent guaranteed access, but if you see on this left side over here, these are all of our previous conversations and chats and things. So they begin to accumulate. So when I talked earlier about the role that Google Drive and Google Docs plays, it's because we have, for example, this right here. This is some of the research, some of the dialogue, and some of the actual materials that we've used for our Lewis Latimer project. And let me just show you guys this wide wealth of resources here. All right, I'm going to take it to the top. And the key thing as you're using Chat GPT is it's conversations. You have to remember to treat it like someone you're having a conversation with and not make assumptions, right? And again, this art of prompting, it is a whole course unto its own. But we just want to take a quick little prompt right here. Okay. So I made 159, Shatara made close to 200 pages of material for our Lewis Latimer project. So starting this off, I told the Chat GPT to assume the persona of a great storyteller. Now, previously in the world of programming, we call this declarative statements. So this is what we're doing here. We're saying, Chat GPT, before we go any further, we want you to assume this particular persona. So now it started telling me some random stuff because, okay, this is something else that's very important. As we use these AI tools, despite them being computer-based, in many cases, they are very flawed and can return flawed information and flawed resources. If you look at the hands of many computer-generated images, you'll see 10 fingers on one hand or 6 fingers on one. You'll see a variety of little flaws. If you look at our hip hop AI book, if you look at the Lewis Latimer project, you'll see flaws that are in there. This is a result of the algorithms and other things like that. We chose at every step of our presentation so far to leave those flaws in here because for us, they are a documentation of the software at this particular time. So it's the same thing for the ideas. Even on the basic level, there is in our advanced section, we'll talk about a concept called generative adversarial networks. Generative adversarial networks, or GAN. This is when we have two pieces of software both trying to solve a problem because they know that one piece may have some flaws in it. So you send one to the other and they go back and forth competing to try to get to the most accurate information. All right, but let's dive here. Here we are.
Can you share about the G for GAN, where the GAN fits into this whole thing?
Well, again, the generative adversarial networks are having software compete with each other in order to solve problems. Now, I see a question from Aaron, saying, are the artificial flaws really flaws, especially if they're intentional? Okay, Aaron, I'll give you a mathematical example of this. We were taught growing up that 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 1. But we know mathematically it equals 0.999999. What happens to that little 0.00 infinity 1? That's where those little flaws, that's where the ghost in the machines come from. From these, and also in this, generative adversarial, network environment. Okay, what's different about artificial intelligence now than when we were talking about the ELIZA? ELIZA was a software program that had a predetermined set of answers. Therefore, it had a predetermined set of configurations. When we're talking about artificial intelligence now, one of the key things is they have the ability to do something called generalized learning, which means they can take in information and begin to organize it and sort it and group it together. But what's most important that this software can do now that we couldn't do before is that it can reason and then make decisions on that reasoning, even if the decisions are wrong. So again, think of a robot at a crossroad and it has to choose whether to go left or right, just like a human in life. Well, we may make some wrong decisions, so we see that in the Chat GPT. And so the Chat GPT will BS you in a second just to give you an answer. So this leads us to another very important career and job opportunity. And that is the realization that we are all becoming curators, aggregators. All of us who were creators and makers in the beginning, who spent so much time trying to learn how to make books, write books, how to make movies, the technical parts. Now the AI tools are helping us skip those learning curves of those technical parts and processes. And now we are like DJs in certain cases. As I give the Mid-Journey And as I give the chat GPT these instructions, I then have to go discern what is most relevant, what is most accurate, and then further guide the artificial intelligence to where I want it to go. This is the role of the AI prompt engineer. So now let's look at this chat GPT again in the context of our Lewis Latimer project. I started off by asking again, I told it to assume the role of a storyteller. Then I started asking, who is Lewis Latimer? Then I said, ask it to write a novel outline. Now let's look at this. Let's just look at this one prompt. Write an 8-page graphic novel about the exciting, impactful life of Lewis Latimer. Includes 6 panels per page and detailed image instructions with prompts for mid-journey. Now let me break this down. We're telling the chat GPT what format we want to create for. In this case, an 8-page graphic novel. Then using our adjectives, we're saying, and our adverbs, an exciting, impactful story we wanted to tell. See, if I started generically and just said, write a story about Lewis Latimer, it's going to give me something generic. In the old world of computer programming, we said garbage in, garbage out. That is no more accurate than what we experience right now when dealing with this artificial intelligence. So for ChatGPT, and again, if you've already logged in and if you're following along, just start entering some prompts right now. You may ask it first to assume a particular role. Then you may ask the ChatGPT to ask you questions. And I'll give you guys an example. Ask me questions about Lewis Latimer. Oh, I'm sorry, I typed on the wrong computer. Let me type on this one. Okay. Pull my PC here.
So with each of these prompts, just with the generative AI, the one that makes the images, when you communicate with very specific words with the one that's creating the language, the conversational AI, it will return different words. So as you see, he opened it, assume the persona of a great storyteller. He could have said, assume the persona of a 6th grader, and it would have delivered the text and the language in a different manner.
Thank you, dear. That's very important. You know, by us defining our audiences, this is it's one of the most powerful things. You know, we could easily take a body of text and say, write this for kindergartners, and now write this for a PhD level historian. And it's going to try its best to generate the proper response. Now, I told it to ask me some questions about Lewis Latimer. Now, at this point in time, the chat GPT and we've been going back and forth for 5 weeks on this project. So one of the benefits of having these threads over here, you guys, on the left sides, is that we can set different chats for different projects and then begin to train the project just in that specific chat, as we've done here with Lewis Latimer. You know, so the questions that they asked me was, what was Lewis Latimer's occupation? What was the contribution? Now, one of the reasons why we had the chat GPT ask us questions is because that helps us train it. This idea of training these AI models is one of the most powerful concepts. So yes, over here we have a certain amount of artists and people justifiably freaking out because so many of these models are trained off of media that came off of the internet. That means that the AI is going all over the world, finding these pictures, finding these concepts, and then averaging them together and finding patterns and coming up together. So on the one hand, I can understand an artist who's upset because they go find some of their work has been used to train some of the AI. In fact, there are specific websites that are out there just so artists can opt out of being a part of this. You know, conversely, we have the ability to train these AI ourselves. In these weeks ahead, we're going to teach the members of this cohort how to train your AI. So in the case of using for visual images, if you have ever paid an artist to create some art for you, if you have old photos and you want new ones, for example, in the Lewis Latimer, you can train the AI for a particular style. And not only that, though, you can then train it to generate original pictures from that style. So you may have one picture of a classic character that you created, but you can then train the AI to put that character in different poses, different backgrounds. Now look at how we can expedite these graphic novel productions. Now look at how we can make these canvases and these quilts and these other things, you know. And so again, going back to the chat GPT, it's not just simple novelties. Okay, we'll do another chat here and we'll ask it to write us. What do you want it to write, dear?
Write a let's see, write a social media post about the AI Toolbox Bootcamp launch, February.
Let's do something brand new because I've
Something.
trained it. So let's just see what
Okay.
comes.
All
Okay.
right. Let's do a title for a newsletter for a manufacturing company
I'll
that
do
may.
better. I have to write a newsletter. So not just the title. We'll
Mhm.
have it write a newsletter about AI art. How about that?
Cool.
All right. Write a newsletter about. And y'all don't mind my typing. Got 5 computers open. Okay. Write
And
a
this,
newsletter
and
about
this is
AI art.
a completely new chat. So we have not trained the robot in this chat yet.
Okay. So now here we are. The chat GPT has generated a newsletter. It's in the process of generating a newsletter about artificial intelligence.
Can you please read some of the text for folks who may be tuning in on their phones?
Absolutely. Artificial intelligence has been transforming the world in many ways, including the world of art. AI generated art, also known as AI art, has been gaining popularity in recent years. AI art refers to any artwork that has been created or significantly influenced by AI algorithms. You know, so again, it just made this right now. So now we're going to ask it write a song about AI art. Write a song about AI art. And again, if you're just joining us and following along, we are showing folks how to use Chat GPT. We're doing a general introduction to the AI toolbox, but we're boring down right now on Chat GPT, the transformative new software service that is creating countless opportunities for folks. So we are looking at how Chat GPT can be used to generate blog posts, songs, social media content, scripts, and many other things. So I'm going to say, write a song about AI art. Now you see it's forgiving of grammar and spelling as well. Now, back in the day when we typed the ELIZA program in BASIC, we had to type every single response we thought that the computer could answer. We had to sit there and come up with thousands of combinations. That's not what is happening here. So here is the song written by ChatGPT about AI art.
And
Okay,
as a
you're the favorite.
professional, I greatly appreciate that it has the proper song structure. It opens with verse 1 and then goes to the chorus, and then verse 2 and then to the chorus, and then it has the bridge, the chorus, and the outro.
Hey, that's a great point, dear, because the ability to reformat and structure the content in the ways that we need is, again, amongst the most powerful things. So watch, we can write this now and say, write HTML code for this song. Now, it will apologize and say, it will tell you about the limits of its capabilities, but then it will try its best to do that for you. So in this case, all right, now let me do it another way. It didn't get it that way. I will say, right, let me try it again. Now, the educational process, if I wanted to be specific, I can go find examples of HTML code and paste them in here and then tell it to apply that. Let's see, right? I'll say, write this song in HTML code. And
Oh,
again, our
or,
words and our phrases matter.
or even for a website, to write HTML code for a website
You
that
were
will
right.
feature this song.
Code for a website. And again, it's poetry. Every word matters. So see, now this time it took the prompt. Now look at this, you guys. Do you see that this chat GPT is generating code? And it's not just the HTML code. It can do Java, CSS, Python. There are people who are creating WordPress plugins using this right here. Now, we can come right up here. Okay, now there's a very important part too, is that the free version has a character limit on how many words it can output. It's like 1,500 characters or something like that. We have the plus version, so it's doing more characters. However, all right, this is the complete HTML, ready for us to click right here and copy and paste into something, into another situation. And it's giving us other tips on things to use it, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, because considering SEO, how are these texts treated by Google? Great question. So Google has, well, many companies have generated software that allows them to tell when text has been created by AI. So we usually have to take the text from the AI, like how we used to, and kind of spin it a little bit and then touch it up with human editing. So again, the role of the human as an editor and as a discerner is more important than ever, because there's so many people who are going to take this code or take these words that come directly out of the chat GPT and see them as gospel and see them as truth. But there's two things you can do. You can have a human go through and validate this, or you can take this code and put it into another AI and say, check this code. Generative adversarial networks. One person checking another. And then the thing that's funny, that's the way Shatara and I work with our productions. We always say check and double check, so that's what the computer is doing. And so from the career perspective, yes, we talked about the role of the AI prompt engineer, but the role of the editor, whether it's the video editor, whether it's the text editor, again, that specific role of curation and that role of discernment. What is good? What's the best? That's what DJs do. We tell people when teaching editing, your role as a video editor is to make it shorter and put it in order. So when I have 1,500 pages of AI text, how am I going to analyze this? Well, I'm going to use the AI to help me analyze it, and I'm going to use my human experience, storytelling skills to discern what I need out of that, just like a good DJ. So, dear, any other questions so far before we move on to this part?
That great last question was from Jen, and that completes the questions that are here in the chat for this.
Let me show one more thing, and then we're going to wrap up the chat GPT, and we're going to dive into it further in the LMS. Okay, now I want to show you guys one more piece of magic. Write a proposal for a grant on AI art. Now, I haven't given it enough information here, but I'm just going to see what it comes up with. All right. So again, it's going to try to do its best based on what I've given it. So it's writing a letter to the grant committee. Now, if I had said write a 5-word proposal, a 5-page proposal, if I had given it other criteria, then it could define itself better. But for any of our folks who are grant writers, proposal writers, this is transforming things at this very moment. So in the next weeks in our AI Toolbox Bootcamp, we're going to help people get into this. We're going to help you get into understanding how the chat GPT can help you on the top level, but how it can continue at so many different areas. Just as a final for today's lesson, I'll say, write a video script on AI art. Okay, you guys, you see what's up on the screen right here? Not only is it, writing it, but it's formatting it properly. So now let's say that you are someone who is at home recovering from a very serious accident, like my good brother, El Bogart, who's watching this. Let's say you're someone who has a lot of time, like some of my elderly friends who have retired. You know, we may or may not want to be bringing a lot of other people into our lives or into our thoughts or what's on our minds. But I can guarantee you that if you get into this chat GPT and you begin having some conversations about the things that are on your mind, this tool right here can help you work through ideas, work through concepts. It can help you learn. Now, understand anything that it tells us as a fact, we must challenge. But in the past 10 months, Shatar and I have generated and produced a 200-page graphic novel, more than 500 original products, which you can see at our store at artscollection.ai and our other store, hiphopsocks. That's cool, Arts Collection AI and hiphopsocks.com. We have made a 10-minute documentary. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the Lewis Latimer documentary because it's so very important to be transparent about this process. About 5 or 6 years ago, Shatar and I, and I'll share the screen over here, dear. About 5 or 6 years ago, Shatar and I started circulating a proposal for a documentary series called OGs, Original Geeks. The idea was we wanted to create a documentary that helps celebrate some of the people of color in the worlds of Black folks in the worlds of science and technology from the old ages up to contemporary times. For me, growing up as a young man, Lewis Latimer was as much of a hero to me as the Incredible Hulk or Captain America or the Black Panther. My father, being a scientist, a medical doctor, had early on taught me about the works of Lewis Latimer and his role and how so many people didn't know about his role in electrical engineering. Lewis Latimer literally wrote the first book on electrical lighting systems at the recommendation of Thomas Edison. So about just 6 weeks ago, Shatar and I had finished up our initial AI bootcamp curriculum materials. And I said, hey, dear, let's do this documentary on Lewis Latimer. I made one of the first images. And in the weeks that followed, we dived into it. We used AI for every single image that you see in the documentary. We used it for the animation. We used it for some of the scripting. We used AI tools for our social media posts, for our YouTube posts, even to give ideas on how to design this webpage that you see right here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try to play this. Hey, dear, let me know if you hear audio, and if it's playing okay, then I'll keep it going. If not, then we'll jump up out of it, right? But we're going to wrap up our public part of our program today by playing this right here, the Lewis Latimer documentary. And for anyone who's interested in learning more, please visit us at aitoolbox.co. That's aitoolbox.co.
I'll put those on the screen. The question and chat area is lit with questions. I have quite a few questions for you already.
Okay.
Should I put them in before the documentary?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll end on the documentary.
Okay, copy that. Loading the first of the questions now.
Yeah, okay. Great question, Jen. Can we show you how the HTML code generated by ChatGPT appears on the web screen? I would if my configuration was not so temperamental right now, and I don't want to open any of our web builders. However, it pasted in as base. It has all the headers. It'll do bullet points. It'll do even some column stuff. So it really depends on how specific we tell it to make that HTML. But yes, it is. Just to talk about the world of careers, Jen is our amazing virtual assistant, has been a part of our team for about 3 years now. So Jen, in the world of virtual assistants and in the world of agency work, this is how ChatGPT is transforming things. We used to have to go manually hire HTML coders, JavaScript coders, CSS coders, and all these other people. Now an agency is able to use a smaller, more focused team enhanced by dozens of AI tools. And again, even in the case of AI Toolbox, we know there's plenty of people, they don't want to learn this. Or there's other people who will only want to learn what they need to manage a project. We understand that. So we have an agency at AI Toolbox for anyone who wants a full service work done. while we are concurrently training the next generation of AI prompt engineers, a first generation of AI prompt engineers. We are training entrepreneurs who want to use this immediately. Whether you're a recording artist, whether you're a filmmaker, there are tools and techniques that can help eliminate frustration, eliminate roadblocks. I don't have writer's block anymore. Whether it's creatively, whether it's nonfiction, the moment I'm stuck on an idea, I'm going to go talk to the chat GPT. And I may or may not use what it gives me, but it's going to help me get over those blocks. What's the other question there?
Okay, loading the next question. I will say, Jen, to answer that, Maxi, thank you for answering that so brilliantly. And yes, we have pasted the code in to create the appearance of a website, Jen, and we'll be able to talk more about it offline. So yes, absolutely.
Yes, in the LMS. Ask that question in there, Jen, and we'll give you some examples. We'll paste some in there. Yeah, can Chat GPT help with editing existing books? Yes, Chat GPT can absolutely be used to fact check and for grammar and for spelling. However, there is a more mature tool, Grammarly. Grammarly came out before people even heard of Chat GPT, and it's a more advanced tool. So we combine Chat GPT with Grammarly, and together you're getting some better editing situated there. Any other questions there? No? All right, cool. So then,
yes, there are some more questions. They're still coming in. I'm still typing them as they come.
Okay, and very important for anyone who's in the learning management system, please post your questions in there. As we said, this replay is going to be available on there. But yes, okay, can we see the HTML displayed? Just want to see what it looks like. Actually, Jonathan, if you look in the learning management system under our lesson on AI use cases, that is HTML that came exactly out of the system, and we just cleaned up the type in there. But yes, it will generate the H1, H2, H3, H4. And not only that, though, as I said, it will do CSS and JavaScript. So if we were really building a web pages with this, we would do one pass to generate the HTML, another pass to generate the CSS, and then another pass for the JavaScript. Yep. And also, though, this is why in the training program, we help people set up a workplace. So now you have your own WordPress site set up, or you have your own Wix site set up, so you can begin pasting and experimenting and seeing how these things apply on the front end. We will be helping folks set up that workspace this week as well. All right, I see the question. OpenAI is very intriguing, but I can see it being a nightmare for teachers in middle school up to the university level. Are there any safeguards for tools in place with the ability to discern the difference between AI and human writers? Yes, Aaron. There are tools that are out here. Even OpenAI made a tool. Lots of places are making tools to discern. There's a whole movement amongst traditional artists to say non-AI made and to validate that it was made by humans. But again, Aaron, if we think back for those of us who are old enough to remember what education was like before the calculator came in, at the time when we had to memorize multiplication tables. I don't even know. Do kids still memorize multiplication tables? But we can look at that example of the impact that the calculator had in teaching mathematics. I remember it was banned for the longest time. And now it's the only thing that you can take in a mini test. So in terms of combating plagiarism, in terms of authenticity, these are the challenges that we're having to figure out across the board. So we have companies, that are banning AI generated books, banning AI art. But again, anybody remember Napster? Do you guys remember when the MP3 format first came out and it freaked people out? You mean we have the ability to compress music and to send it as a small file over the internet? Oh my God. Panic. There were rules passed against it. The company itself was banned. So we're kind of in that era right now with the AI, in the era that is upending so much that people are trying to see where the dust is going to settle. So our encouragement for educators is to think like the digital first generation and to ask them, how can we incorporate this tool while still meeting these basic requirements of education? How can we not try to fight it, but how? So for example, in art education, when you're making images with Mid-Journey and you're referencing countless art styles, that's an art education. When we're making images in Mid-Journey and we're using traditional photography terms, that's forcing even a veteran like myself to go back and look up, oh, aperture this and millimeter that. Yes. So I can't answer the question for anyone who says, how can we prevent it? All I can say is, how can we co-op? How can it work together? How can we try to figure out solutions that are scalable versus being temporary stopgaps? And then, because again, they shut Napster down, but then they opened iTunes a few years later. And now we got Spotify. And now it's everywhere. And so that's what's going to happen with these generative tools. So this is a wrap up for our public presentation. We're going to make ourselves available in the online learning management system. If you're a member, you can go to techandmedia.io and log in and click on the button that says AI Toolbox Bootcamp. And in there, we will continue to stream, ask your questions, and be a lot more informal. So anyone who has questions on ChatGPT, and we're going to talk more about Mid-Journey in there, we'll be meeting you up in there. So, dear, we're going to go ahead and roll out, and we're going to play this full screen. Let me see if it'll play this for us. I'm going to do an audio test.
Copy that. Thank you.
All right, I'm playing it. Do you hear anything?
We are not yet hearing audio. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, then we will encourage people to go to lewislatimer.com. That is lewislatimer.com. So you say you're not hearing any audio. Why? I checked it here, but okay. Anyway, yes, you could visit. You can see the whole documentary at lewislatimer.com. There is a message there where you can leave comments at the bottom. And if you have questions for us and you're not a part of the community, please visit aitoolbox.co. Click the button at the bottom that says contact and hit us up with any questions that you have. This has been week 1 of 6. Next week, we're going to be immersed specifically in the AI art. We're going to share advanced prompts and tools for our folks who've been using the AI art for a while, but we're also going to walk the beginner folks through it, and we're going to introduce you to some alternative tools. We're going to cover Mid-Journey. We're going to cover Stable Diffusion. We're going to cover DALL-E, and we're going to show you how you can install these tools on your local computer and not incur any cost. Dear, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up here?
I just want to say thank you, everyone who is tuning in from around the country. We appreciate all of your comments and for joining the conversation. My name is Shatar, here with Maxie Collier. The link again is aitoolbox.co. That is aitoolbox.co. You can also visit our full learning management system at techandmedia.io.
Yes, and watch this replay on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're seeing it, because it's going to come down in the next 24 hours for the members of our learning management system in our program. And we hope to have you join us at AI Toolbox Bootcamp. 5 more weeks of training and learning. We will be available during this entire time in the learning management system for your questions. And thank you for joining us. I'm Maxie Collier. You can take us out of here, dear.
Copy that. Ending the live. Have a great weekend.